Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Harry Potter Revisited, the Harry Potter podcast where I, Laura Bradburn, take you on my journey through my rereading of the Harry Potter books. Today we're doing a double feature, that's chapters 3 and 4 of the Philosopher's Stone, which are Letters from No One and the Keeper of the Keys. Let's go! Hi everyone, long time no see. If you're one of the early adopters of this podcast, you'll be aware it's been a few weeks since I last spoke to you. It's supposed to be a weekly episode, but for various reasons which I'll go into before we look at the chapters, that hasn't been the case. So where have I been? Well, a couple of weeks ago you might have seen on Twitter and Instagram, if you're following me, I'm at Potter Revisited on both those platforms. But if you've seen my announcements on there and also on my personal pages, I was actually recording another podcast a couple of weeks ago, which will be out in round about December time, I think, called The Most Magical Podcast on Earth. It's a podcast about people who love going to Disney World and people who love going to Florida in general, and you can apply to be a guest on the show and talk about your experiences, talk about your future experiences and stuff like that. So I did that, and the night that I was scheduled to record this podcast, they asked me to do that one instead, so I thought, no bother, I can record that podcast, because obviously time's limited and things with that particular podcast being scheduled involving a lot more people, so I thought I'll just go ahead and do that one and I'll push mine to another time. And I thought, yeah, I'll push mine to another time, like 24 hours later, 48 hours later, 72 hours later, it still hadn't happened. And yeah, we're now like 3 weeks later and I'm only getting to the podcast now. Partly just because I've just been so busy, and partly because, I'll be honest, the further that time got away from having read the chapters that I want to cover today, I just was kind of a little bit like, I'm going to forget everything, I'm going to forget what I've been talking about and what I wanted to talk about and what the chapters are about. Plus, the thing that I said I wasn't going to do happened to me on the train when I was going into work one morning. So I usually drive to work, so I don't actually get a chance to read, but on a particular morning I was going to a course in the city and I had to get the train, so I thought I'll take the Harry Potter book on, read the next chapter, do a few notes for the next podcast, get off the train 20 minutes later, and I'd read 2 of the chapters, and I was like, this is a bit of a problem, because I had said I'm not going to do 2 chapters because I'll get confused and all that kind of thing, but that's what ended up happening. So today you're getting a bit of a double feature. As you'll have heard in the introduction, we're doing chapters 3 and 4. So that's the Letters from No One and the Keeper of the Keys. And I'm probably only going to spend a little bit of time on those chapters today, just because they're quite well covered in the films, for example. So like visually and stuff like that, pretty much everything that happens in the chapters is displayed in the films, so there's nothing that I'm going to be able to tell you that I find particularly different in the book compared to the films. So for that reason, we'll probably not spend too much time on that. But what I thought might be an interesting thing to do with the rest of the time on the podcast tonight was to have a little revisit to the old Sorting Hat. So some of you might have seen, if you're if you're avid followers of Harry Potter and the Wizarding World in general, you'll probably have seen that they've just recently released, probably about a month ago at the time of recording, the new Harry Potter Wizarding World app, and on that gives you a chance to go under the Sorting Hat again, even if you've already done it on Pottermore. So if you listen to episode 1 of this podcast, you'll know that I was entirely ashamed to find out that I'm a Hufflepuff. I've done it twice on 2 different email accounts and still a Hufflepuff. So I thought I might take you through the process of being sorted live on this podcast and see if we can get me sorted into the house of my dreams, which is Ravenclaw. But that's for a little bit later on in the podcast. We'll start with a little bit of a review of the chapters first of all and my thoughts on them. So, chapter 3 is the chapter that we already talked about, Letters from No One. And again, we're still in Privet Drive. We're still with the Dursleys. So, we're still in the aftermath of, Harry having let the snake loose at the zoo, and the Dursleys are still treating him as badly as they did because of his supposed magical powers, and because of what happened at the zoo, he's actually undergone his longest ever punishment, which is to remain under the stairs, which is where he also sleeps. This chapter and actually this scene in the film really bugs me for a number of reasons, right? Because, well, first of all, Harry gets letters and J.K. Rowling goes through, he's awe at getting a letter because, as you can imagine, with the way he's been treated by the Dursleys and stuff like that, he's not used to getting post of his own. And I can't believe, bearing in mind that I think the first letter that comes to him is addressed to Mr. H. Potter, the cupboard under the stairs, 4 Privet Drive, Little Whinging. So it's very specific that not only is it talking about the house that he lives in, but it talks about the fact that he lives under the stairs. Then, and Vernon Dursley, his uncle, is kind of like, who'd be writing to you, and all that kind of thing. And I can't believe, actually, that neither Vernon or Petunia Dursley are immediately suspicious that it might be somebody from the wizarding world that's trying to contact Harry, just because of the specificity of the letter and the address. The fact that, as far as I'm aware, it doesn't come with a stamp on it or anything like that. And that even when they try and, I think there's bits where Mr. Dursley's like boarding up the letterbox and he boards up all the windows and all that kind of stuff, and it's still managing to get letters through to Harry. And then he comes out with that really stupid thing of, no post on Sundays, so he's not expecting another letter to come through, only for them to come flying down through the fireplace or whatever it is. And yet still, as far as the book's concerned anyway, I think he catches on slightly quicker in the film. But still, they're not suspicious that it's coming from the wizarding world. It's only when they start sort of moving around, so I think they go to a hotel and they go to a house out in the middle of nowhere, and then they end up on a rock island, which is the one that you see in the film. And each time that they go to these places, the address is more and more specific to Harry, even though his location's changing. It's only then that the Dursleys start suspecting that he is getting contact from the wizarding world. And that just really bugged me, because I was like, wouldn't that be the immediate first thing that you would think if a child who you had taken in, who hardly anybody knows that he lives there, because you don't make any mention of him in any of the photos or any of the other memorabilia around the house. He's got no other friends outside of the house and all that kind of thing. Wouldn't you suspect straight away that it's the wizarding world that's trying to get in contact with him? I would think so. But it's clear that the Dursleys don't think so. And it frustrated me a little bit reading it, but then the other way of looking at it, I suppose, is to say maybe that was deliberate on J.K. Rowling's part. Maybe she was deliberately sort of making out that the Dursleys would be that dim and that stupid, but I don't know. I don't know if it was deliberate. I mean, according to J.K. Rowling, everything she does is deliberate, and she definitely never ever makes things up in retrospect to make her books look more inclusive than they were. But we are not going into that at the moment. There is much more to discuss about that later on in the books and later on in the characters. But yeah, that just really frustrates me about this particular chapter. And also the fact that Vernon Dursley thinks that anything is going to be achieved by, going somewhere where they don't get a letter. If you ignore a letter, what's going to happen? Is the thing that the letter is about just never going to happen, or are they just going to keep sending more letters or finding other ways to communicate or actually come to your house? For a guy who's supposedly scared of these wizards and things, you would think he would try and appease them rather than ignore them, but that doesn't seem to be what happens. But that's basically the kind of A to Z of that chapter. It's kind of just all about Harry wanting to know what's in these letters, wanting to figure it out, and of course he never actually, I don't think anyway in that chapter, I'm just having a quick flick through it as I'm talking to you, I don't think at any point in that chapter he actually does get to open a letter. And so that takes us on to chapter 4, which is The Keeper of the Keys. Now, as I've already mentioned earlier on in the series of podcasts, Hagrid is probably my favourite character. So to see The Keeper of the Keys as the title of the chapter was really exciting for me, because as any Harry Potter fan will know, that's the official kind of job title of Hagrid. Well, actually, he says he's the Keeper of the Keys, but I think his full title is Keeper of Keys and Grounds for Hogwarts. So, but anyway, this is another Hagrid focused chapter, so in my book that goes down well. And bearing in mind, at this point, at the start of this chapter, the Dursleys have taken Harry onto this kind of remote island in the middle of nowhere. They are trying to stay away from whoever's sending these letters, and they think that they won't be found if they are on this island. Chapter 3, so the letters from no one, ends with a knock at the door on the middle of this island, so everybody's a bit petrified. Turns out to be the wonderful Hagrid at the door, obviously there to pick up Harry because of the contents of the letter, which Harry knows nothing about yet. So when Hagrid comes in, he's very excited to see Harry, are you ready to go? Are you ready to start your adventure? Start Hogwarts and start all your learning about the world that you've been kept away from for so long. And Harry's to use a Glasgow colloquialism, what are you talking about, mate? He has no idea. And this kind of just enrages Hagrid, because he thought on some level that even if Harry wasn't able to be in contact with people, if he wasn't able to, have anything to do with the wizarding world in general, that he might still be kept abreast of what his heritage is, who his parents were, what his history is, by the Dursleys. He was only being kept out of the wizarding world to keep him from, developing too much of an ego or feeling he was under too much pressure because of the extraordinary events of what happened to him when he was a baby. But I don't think there was ever any intention from Dumbledore or McGonagall or Hagrid or anybody involved with his kind of care that he wasn't going to be made aware he was a wizard. So Hagrid turns up and he's really excited. But when he finds out that Harry knows absolutely nothing about his past, his anger kind of immediately turns towards the Dursleys, as you would expect. He's just absolutely enraged that Harry knows absolutely nothing about his past. And so what you get throughout the chapter is a really nice sort of recap for Harry and at this point also for the reader about, what his history is, what happened to his parents. Obviously, Harry was told they died in a car crash, so he has his own anger issues with his aunt and uncle because he finds out that it wasn't a car crash that killed them, they were actually murdered. Now, imagine you're a 11-year-old boy just hearing that for the first time from a guy that you feel that you've never seen before in your life, a guy that's 3 times the size of a normal human. He's boom woke you up from your sleep, kicked down the door to come in and tell you you're a wizard, and oh, and by the way, your parents weren't killed in a car crash, they were murdered. So his brain at this point is absolutely exploding, and he's got to take that all in. But what it serves as a chapter is a really good recap of everything in the first 2 or 3 chapters so far for you as the reader. So that's one of the main reasons that I really like it. Of course, in the meantime, Vernon Dursley's opinion of magic and wizards and all that has not changed, and he's, shouting in the background and making all these accusations and all that kind of thing. Harry's anger towards the Dursleys is building even more than it already was apparent, because he's now hearing he's been lied to. And Vernon makes the terrible, terrible error of insulting Albus Dumbledore in front of Hagrid, which he gets duly warned not to do. Now, what is it he actually calls him? I'm not paying for some crackpot old fool to teach him magic tricks, which is what he says in response to Harry getting told that he's going to Hogwarts and he's going to be a wizard and he's going to learn all these things. That absolutely sends Hagrid off the wall, and that is basically the point at which, the chapter kind of ends, because he says, "Never insult Albus Dumbledore in front of me," and he basically then does magic, which Hagrid is not supposed to do, which we'll hear about later. He's not supposed to do magic, but he points out Dudley, and I think, what does he do? Oh yeah, he gives Dudley a pig's tail. And that's a problem for various reasons. Apart from anything else, wizards in general are not supposed to do magic in front of muggles, but also Hagrid has his own history with magic that he's not supposed to do. So, because he says to Harry at some point, "Be grateful if you didn't mention to anyone at Hogwarts I'm not supposed to do magic. Strictly speaking, I was allowed to do a bit." I'm trying to read Hagrid's, the way he speaks. "I was allowed to do a bit to follow you and give your letters to you and stuff. One of the reasons I was so keen to take you on the job." And then when Harry inquires further about why he's not supposed to do magic, "Oh well, I was at Hogwarts myself, but I got expelled, to tell you the truth, in my 3rd year. They snapped my wand in half and everything, but Dumbledore let me stay on as gamekeeper. Great man, Dumbledore." And he never tells Harry why he was expelled, but we'll get into that in later chapters. But these two chapters were probably worth merging together anyway, because they basically just set up the fact that this is Harry finding out finally that he's a wizard. To me, they're the 2 chapters that kind of really get the ball rolling. I found the first 2 chapters a little bit repetitive, because it's just, the Dursleys are horrible, Harry's not aware he's magic, but all these weird things keep happening. And it's really only when you get to this point that things start moving. The next chapter, for example, is called Diagon Alley, and for understandable reasons that's a very exciting chapter, but that is not for this week, because 2 chapters is more than enough to cover. I really like the kind of slow build of how it's going so far. We're only 5 chapters in, and I feel like they've taken their time to sort of start building the world and start inviting you in, but it's not going too much of a slog either. So it's all going pretty well for Harry so far, but it really is when he goes to Diagon Alley that things really start changing. He's going to get his first glimpse of the magical world of wizards. He's going to maybe start feeling a little bit more at home with the fact that he's other people are as strange as him, if you like, and it's really where the books start coming into their own. So I'm looking forward to that. But as far as this week's chapters are concerned, I think that's about it. So we'll take a short break, and then we will go into doing the Sorting Hat. So we'll be back in 2 seconds. Okie doke, so I'm sitting here with the Wizarding World app open. Let me just, actually, before I do anything, I'm going to pop a charging cable into my phone, because the last thing I want to do is record half of this thing and then have to redo it all again, because my phone dies or whatever. But yeah, so I've got the Wizarding World app open, and I've opened the app, and it says, once I clicked on the sorting hat, it says you again, Laura, and it's got the Hufflepuff crest. So what is it that's on a Hufflepuff crest? Is it like a badger or something like that? I don't know, something really loserish anyway. But it's got that, and it's like got the kind of yellow hue, yellow and black colour scheme, so suggesting that this app is aware that I'm a Hufflepuff. So, and it says you've been sorted before, but you can take the new sorting ceremony, and the sorting hat will make a new decision if you wish. So let's click start the sorting ceremony. You are next in line. Right, let me see. That's doing some kind of update for us. And it's all very exciting because it's like flashing different colours and stuff just now. So we've got blue for Ravenclaw, yellow for Hufflepuff, kind of red for Gryffindor. But I have to say, it's slightly worrying me because it has paused on the green of Slytherin in the middle of the update. So I'm hoping that's not kind of an omen for what's about to happen or what's about to come. We shall see. I don't know why I'm so against being a Hufflepuff. They're generally nicer people probably than any of the other houses. Like, okay, Gryffindor's the one where all the main characters come from and stuff, but they can't. If you actually look into the traits and stuff of a Gryffindor, they can be quite like arrogant, and they probably share a lot of traits with Slytherin actually, apart from, you know, generally being for the good rather than for the bad. But I guess I just find Hufflepuff a bit of a nothing. Like, Ravenclaw are known for their intelligence, Gryffindor for their bravery, and Slytherin, whether you like them or not, are known for their kind of scheming ways and their ability to get to powerful positions. So surely you would rather be that than anything that Hufflepuff would deem you to be, but we'll see. Anyway. So, oh right, okay, so it says, sound on, the sorting hat will speak, so please ensure that your sound is on. Oh, here we go.
Sweet Hufflepuff from Valley Broad,
Oh.
shrewd Slytherin from Fen. They shared a wish, a hope, a dream. They hatched a daring plan to educate young sorcerers. Thus, Hogwarts School began.
Right, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that off because, and I'm going to put the subtitles on the app because, let's face it, I don't want to get done for copyright or whatever. Oh jeez, selfie mode on. To experience the sorting hat in selfie mode, please enable your camera. Man, I thought sitting in a room by myself, in my house, talking to myself, recording myself facing a blank wall was sad. But I tell you, this is taking it to another level. Oh, you can proceed without the camera, it says. Shh. You will miss out on some of the magic if you proceed without the camera. Now, I think that's to be debated, because without the camera I don't have to look at my own face. So, we'll proceed without the camera. Right, okay. Right, so, oh no, I thought if I put subtitles on it would work,
Now
but it's not
slip
going to.
me
Here we
snug
go.
about your ears. I've never yet been wrong. I'll have a look inside your mind and tell where you belong.
Alright, okay.
Oh, you.
Let's see. Let us begin. Consider your answers carefully. Right, let's see. Right, first one is, the option is forest or river. Now, I can't really swim very well, so I probably wouldn't say river, because yeah, I'm just not a very strong swimmer. I can do like a couple of lengths of a swimming pool on holiday, but that's about it. So I'll probably say, of the two, I would rather be in the forest because I would rather have like shelter, and basically I would just rather not be cold and wet, so we'll go forest. Tilt your phone to select. Oh geez, this is a bit weird. So I've got to tilt my phone to select the answer rather than just press the answer. But anyway, so I've done forest, okay. After you have died, what would you most like people to do when they hear your name? I don't know what the answers are yet, but just thinking about it, probably what I would like them to do is smile, because I like to think I make people enjoy themselves. I like to think that I can have a good laugh with people, so I'd probably say smile. We'll see if that's an option. Let's see. So the answers are miss you but smile, so that's probably what I'm going to go with, but we'll see what else there is. Ask for more stories about your adventures. Would I want people to particularly ask about my adventures? I would hope the people that they're talking about are people that would know me, so they would know my adventures, so probably not that one. Think with admiration of your achievements. You know, probably younger Laura would have said that. Like, I used to place quite a lot of value in academic achievement and in, gaining things and obtaining things and achieving things in that sense. But definitely my attitude as far as that's concerned is definitely reduced in recent years. It's more about how I got on with people and what they think of me as a person rather than what they think of my achievements that I value. And the last option is, I don't care what people think of me after I'm dead, it's what they think of me while I'm alive that counts. That is quite... Yeah, that would tempt me as an answer. Because really, what do you care what people think of you after you're dead? You're dead. I'm going to go with that one, I think, actually. Yeah, I quite like the fact that people would miss me but smile. But really what I want to do is hopefully have an impact on people while I'm alive, so I'm going to go with that. I don't care what people think of me after I'm dead, it's what they think of me while I'm alive that counts. Right, we'll go with that. Okie doke. What kind of instrument most pleases your ear? So before looking at the options, I would say that I really love guitar probably most. Piano's probably a close second, but I would say I like guitar more in a song than anything else. If anybody out there is thinking they love a saxophone more than anything else, you're a weirdo. Go and see a therapist, because that is the sleaziest of all instruments out there. Like when that Careless Whisper starts by George Michael, that oh my god, it makes my skin crawl. Anyway, we will go for what instrument most pleases your ear. Let's see what the options are. The violin, that's actually pretty good. A good violin, actually, like if you get like a string quartet at a wedding or something and a song's being played that is like not usually played on violin but is being led on violin in a string quartet or something like that, that can like make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, so that might be a good option. The trumpet, well, fun fact for you, a sibling of mine used to play the trumpet in the school band and there was nothing about that I enjoyed, so it's not going to be that one. The piano, I did say piano as my second choice behind guitar, so that might win by default. The drum, no, and the reason I'll say drum is drums can make a song better. Absolutely, like a really strong drum beat that you can do air drums to when you're when you're in the shower or when you're dancing about the house or whatever, it can definitely make a song better. But a drum on its own, who wants a drum on its own? Not me. So I'm going to go... because I've seen violin, even though it didn't come to mind straight away, I'm a bit like, violin though, could be good. No, I'm going to go with piano, because that's what I thought before I started it, so I'm going to go with that. Next question is, which would you rather be, but it doesn't tell you what the options are, so let's see. Would you rather be envied? Would you rather be imitated? Would you rather be trusted? Would you rather be praised? Would you rather be liked? Or would you rather be feared? Now, breaking this down is difficult because, to me, if you would rather be envied, then that means that you care what other people think of you and the things that you have and the things that you've achieved. I don't know that I really care that much. Again, probably my younger self would have said I did, but I don't think I really care about whether people envy me or not, so that's probably out. Imitated. Well, they say imitation's the sincerest form of flattery, but that's only if people are imitating you in a complimentary way. Usually imitation can also be like a serious form of mockery, so ask anybody in my family. Ha ha ha. But anyway, no, I don't think I'd rather be imitated. Trusted. Now, on the face of it, wanting to be trusted is a very good thing, because who doesn't want people to trust them? You want to be seen as somebody who's not going to go behind people's backs and do anything untoward, and you want people to see you as a trustworthy person. The problem I'm having with this, though, is if I say that I want to be trusted, that's putting me down the road of Hufflepuff again, and I have a problem with that. I do not want to be Hufflepuff because I don't think I'm Hufflepuff. So, trusted is the most appealing option so far, but it's not really the one I want to take. Praised, I imagine that's like, if you were a Gryffindor, you would want to be praised. Again, to me though, like, praise is nice, but it depends on what you're being praised for. If you're being praised because you, for example, started a Harry Potter podcast and people loved it, then fantastic. That is what you want. But if you're just being praised for the sake of it, or if you're being praised for things that you've achieved that you're not particularly proud of, that's not something you necessarily want people to be doing, because who cares about being praised for things that you don't care about? But anyway, would I rather be liked? Again, that comes back to the same as envied, I think, in a way. It's nice to be liked, but you want to be liked for being the person that you are. So often, like, a lot of us do things in order to be liked, but then don't like the person we are because of the things that we've done. So having that as like a motivational factor for doing things is not necessarily something that's desirable, I feel like. So probably not that. And then, do I want to be feared? I don't want to be feared. I know that's like the obvious Slytherin answer, but nobody wants to be feared. So even though it might screw me up for later on, I'm going to say trusted, because really, of all those options, that's the one that I want to be most of all. Which of the following would you most like to study? Let's see. Centaurs. So they're like, for anybody that doesn't know, they're mythical creatures very well. They're like a half horse, half man. See Philoctetes and Hercules for further reference. Danny DeVito is a very good centaur. A goblin. So the biggest representation of goblins in Harry Potter universe is the little guys that work in Gringotts Bank. Don't think I'd fancy being one of them. A mer person. Now that's interesting, because I said earlier that I'm not a very good swimmer, so really being a mer person would probably be suitable for me. But to quote Ariel, I want to be where the people are. I want to see them dancing. So I can't be a mere person because I would then just end up under the sea wishing that I was safer on land or whatever. Would I rather be a ghost? No, definitely not, because that would mean I'm dead. Would I rather be a vampire? Possibly, because that means I'd be alive forever. Would I rather be a werewolf? No, not particularly. Any depiction of a werewolf that I've seen in any kind of fantasy or sci-fi or whatever, it doesn't look like a very pleasant existence, so I'm going to say no to the werewolf. And trolls. Now, a troll, if you were talking about the movie Trolls, the cartoon movie, by the way, my Disney references and references to children's films are no indication whatsoever of the fact that I have nieces and nephews. It's really just my level of viewing experience. But Trolls, no, because actually, although the ones in the films are usually quite pleasant, an actual troll is quite unpleasant. So I think of all the ones that I've seen, I'm definitely not going to be a goblin. I've ruled out mere people. Don't want to be a ghost. I don't like Twilight, so we're not going to be a vampire. Sorry if you're switching off at the mere mention of the fact I don't like Twilight, but there you go. That is my opinion, and that is what I'm sticking to. So I'm going to go with Centaur, I think, because especially the ones in the Harry Potter films, but just in general, they seem to be quite athletic. They have the smarts and the brains of a human being, but they have the athleticism of a horse and an animal that's like really strong. So I'm going to go for Centaur. Probably the Gryffindor answer when I think about it, but there you go. Which road tempts you most? Not the M8 in Glasgow, that's for sure. Boom boom, topical geographical comedy for you there. But anyway, which road tempts you most? The wide, sunny, grassy lane. Oh, I've got to tilt it around to find the answers. The narrow, dark, lantern-lit alley. Oh jeez, how do I do this? Turn around. I'm actually sitting swivelling on my chair here to try and get all the answers. The narrow, right, so we've got wide, sunny, grassy lane, the narrow, dark, lantern-lit alley, the twisting, leafy, strewn path through the woods, the cobbled street lined with ancient buildings. So that's my options. And I have to say, I'm probably going between the narrow, dark, lantern-lit alley, just because it seems quite a romantic option, or the cobbled street lined with ancient buildings. I quite like places with ancient buildings, but I hate walking on cobbled streets, so that's out. I'm not going to be on a leafy pathway in the woods, and I'm not going to just be on a wide, sunny, grassy lane, because I get hay fever, right? So, the narrow, dark, lantern-lit alley, I'm going to go for, because I think that sounds like it might be the most pleasant. We've got a loading screen here, so I think I'm about to get my answer for what house I'm in. If you don't hear anything, or if you hear major smashing of things, then you'll know what the answer I got is. It's taking its time, by the way. Let me see if there's any sound on. I'll just switch it on. No, it's like rain sounds, if you can hear that. Taking your time, sorting hat, come on. What can I say here? This is... do you know what? I'll tell you something though. I never examine myself more than when I'm doing a Harry Potter quiz. Brings out so much about my personality, makes me reflect on my character. It makes me, I don't know what it makes me do. It just makes me think, which is not always a good thing. Have you been thinking again? That's what I get asked. Usually with a note of trepidation in the voice of the person talking to me. Jeez, this sorting hat is slow. I feel like I'm going to have to edit out what I'm doing here.
Yes. You could be great in Ravenclaw. If you've a ready mind, where those of wit and learning will always find their kind.
Oh my goodness. I'm a Ravenclaw! Yes! 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 Ravenclaw! Knew it! Knew it! Sorry if you're wearing headphones. Ravenclaw! Confirm! Asking me if I want to change my profile to Ravenclaw or stay in Hufflepuff. Excuse me, I'm changing to Ravenclaw all the way. Now I can officially, actually start telling people I'm a Ravenclaw. Geez that all day. Well, I'm ending this podcast in a much better mood than I thought I was going to. And I didn't even fake it, because if the microphone has picked up the recording well enough, then you will have heard it say Ravenclaw. So I am sticking with it. Love it. If you're listening to the podcast and you want to get in touch, you can get in touch with me on Instagram, on Twitter. You can private message me on there, because those are profiles only for the podcast, so they're both at Potter Revisited. You can get in touch via email at potterrevisited at gmail.com. So, yeah. Either let me know if you want to come on, if you want to be a guest, if you want to just discuss Harry Potter, if you want to read the next chapter with me, or if you want to read one of the chapters in future, let me know which one. Or just let me know either what you're thinking of the podcast, or have you tried the new Sorting Hat on Wizarding World? Is it more accurate? I'm going to say it's more accurate because it gave me the result I wanted. Let me know what house it's put you in. And until then, we will see you, fingers crossed, next week. Thank you very much, and I will speak to you soon. The music for Harry Potter Revisited was provided by Purple Planet. That's purple-planet.com, an online resource which provides music for all of your digital output. Thank you very much.